All right, so it looks like we are coming through. I'm like a minute early, so I'm just going to hang out a little bit, wait for everybody to get here, which is the thing that you're not supposed to say in a live stream. But since we're doing, since this isn't like a normal live stream, since we're actually doing some training, I want to definitely make sure that that everybody's in here. Since I said that 8 o'clock, hey, it's 8 o'clock, so now we are good to go. So first off, hope everybody is well. Hope that you are having a wonderful week so far, whatever it is that you happen to be doing this week. I hope it is absolutely awesome for you. So today I want to talk about organizing your YouTube content, and not just organizing it, but the entire workflow involved in YouTube. So if you've been on YouTube for a long time already, then some of this information you're going to be familiar with already. You're going to have your own system down. But I know that there's a lot of channel members that are just getting started. So because of that, I want to make sure that they are, basically getting themselves off to a good start in terms of making sure that they have the process together, so that you can make sure that you are, one, checking all the boxes, so to speak, and two, to also make sure that you are organizing and storing your files in a way that, let's say you decide to go and start publishing to LinkedIn, or another platform pops up and you want to start uploading videos there, as an example, so that you have all these containers, so to speak, of your content, so that it's not a big deal to go in, make some minor changes, and then start uploading to that new platform as well. Or if you just want to, put your own website together and you just want to have your own content natively in there, just so you can keep everything like nice and tight, and then you can go in and easily make changes to things if you need to. So Midnight Madness 4x4 saying that that he arranges his files by the events that he records, which is very, very cool. And that's an effective way to do it. Some people will do it by month, some people will do it by day. Personally, and I'm going to get into this here in just a minute, but personally, I actually do this by just video, like the actual file names themselves, just because I don't want to go too many. If I have to go and I start, repurposing stuff, or if I want to start uploading stuff to another platform in the future or anything like that, basically I just want to be able to go in and just start working from the top of the list, instead of having to go, keep going deeper and deeper into rooted folders, so to speak. So again, like if that's your way, that's working out for you, then absolutely keep doing that way, because our brains are all different in how all of this stuff works. So because of that, I'm going to share what works for me and what's worked for clients in the past. And in terms of, again, if you have this stuff already taken care of on your end, then of course you are good to go. RPM Nexus, what's up, man? Nice to see you here today. So give me 1 second here. Let me get the right thing up. Okay. So let me switch over to this one, and we will go into this. All right. So let me move this over a little bit so I can make sure to see your chat. So if you have any questions along the way while I'm talking about all this stuff, definitely do not hesitate to ask. That's why I, am doing these, so that as I'm going through all this stuff, if you have any questions, you can definitely, stop me and ask me, the details about a specific part if you would like. But basically what we're going to be talking about today is, of course, like I said, we're going to be talking about YouTube workflow, and basically the entire process from video idea to actually getting the content out there. And this is the actual process itself. So I'm not going into the specific details. I'm going to start breaking some of these down in future live streams, members only live streams, in terms of, like, for example, when I get into the video ideas, I'm going over like a summary of how that works, but we're going to dig in deeper into that in future videos. So to start this whole thing off, let me make sure that came through. Let me make sure this is all coming through okay, and it does seem to be. Fantastic. Of course, you start out with your video ideas. Now, when it comes to your video ideas, it could be something, and this is just the idea. This is stuff that hasn't been researched yet. This is just when you're driving in your car, or you're walking down the street, or you're at work, and you're like, oh, that'd be a good video idea. I should probably put this on my list. A couple really good things for keeping track of your video ideas is, of course, if you're on an Apple device, just using the notepad there, and then you can airdrop it between all of your different devices if you're in the Apple ecosystem. I'm not. I have the tablet and I've got the phone and the watch, but I don't have a Mac. So when I do this stuff on my tablet or my phone, I actually have to transfer that stuff unless I use something like Google Docs or Google Sheets. So the cool thing about using clouds, any of the cloud places, is that it doesn't matter if you're on your phone, if you're on your tablet, if you're on your computer, you can drop this stuff in there and then you can just access it whenever you want. So what I recommend to everybody is that you have just a raw video idea page or folder or spreadsheet so that you can go in there and you can just drop video ideas in there as they come to you, because the last thing that you want is to come up with a really good idea and then you get home and you're like, man, I know I had that idea that I was really excited to make a video about, but that was before lunch and then now I can't even remember what it was, right? So it's just a really quick way to, okay, I'm going to pull up this doc and then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to add the information in there for the video idea, and then I'm going to move on. So if you want to be super organized about it, you can use Google Sheets. But me personally, because of the type of content that I make, and depending on the type of the content that you make, it might be a similar way. But me personally, using Google Sheets for video ideas doesn't really work out, because what I like to do is I like to flush those ideas out just a little bit, maybe add a few quick bullet points or something like that, since the idea is in my brain. And using Google Docs for that is definitely a very efficient way in order to do that. And absolutely, Paul Peck saying that TubeBuddy has a mobile topic planner. They do, and it's awesome. The only downside of that is the cloud-based side of things, being able to just swap it around between devices and things like that. That's the only downside of that. And for efficiency, I like to have all of that stuff available. Like whatever I open, then I can just go right to it and access it, which is a pretty convenient thing. But absolutely, they do, and especially like if that's already something that's in your workflow, then I would definitely keep using it that way. But another thing also, for the sake of organization, is inside of Google Sheets, inside of Google Docs, I recommend that you do like a Google Drive first, and then basically build a folder inside of Google Drive of video ideas, and then inside of that actually load your docs into that, instead of just having this big mess of video ideas floating around mixed in with all of your other Google Docs that you have. That way it just keeps everything nice and organized on Google Drive, so you can just go straight to the folder, and then bam, you are good to go. Next up, of course, next step in the process. Yeah, Keep is also amazing for this. Absolutely, without question, another amazing one. And that's Google Keep. That's the one that he's referencing right now in the chat if you're watching this on the replay or listening to this later. But the next thing in the step, of course, is keyword research. So a lot of people, they will make their videos and then they'll come back and then they'll do the keyword research and try to basically shoehorn their video into a specific topic. But it's more advantageous long-term to actually do your keyword research first. And then after you do your keyword research, then once you confirm that everything, that you have an opportunity to rank for something, that from that point, then you start working on the video instead of actually coming back and trying to shoehorn your video in under a specific term. So when you're doing the keyword research, and this is one of those things that I mentioned before, Doug's like, yep, that's me. But one of the things, a lot of people do that. But one of the things that that is a really important part of this is when you can do your keyword research and you can find out exactly what it is that you can compete for, then most of the videos that you put up on your channel, you're going to have a better chance of sliding in somewhere, instead of having to shoehorn something that might be extremely competitive that you don't have like a really good chance of ranking for. So because of that, I really recommend that you do your keyword research first. And when you're doing that, another thing that is really efficient is to go ahead and start typing out a nice handful of video titles too. Like do like 10 to 15 video titles. Like, okay, so this is the keyword phrase that I'm going for. This is the specific keyword that I'm going for. If you're trying to rank the video in search, and this is what I'm aiming for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down like 10 to 15 different titles, and I'm going to use like headline generators, and I'm going to use my brain to just sit here and try to write down a bunch of different titles and kind of whittle them down to the ones that you think are the best, and then try to go for those. Now, when you are doing your keyword research, another thing to keep in mind is also go ahead, write your title out. Go ahead and pick the title that you're going to use, that you're going to pull back in later in this list. And then also write down the first line of your description as well. And when you're writing down the first line of your description, also make sure that you are optimizing that so that when it does come up in search, this isn't going to help you in the related column or any of the other recommendation features. This only helps you in search, but you want to make sure that that very first line of your description, the one that they preview when the search results page gets displayed and your video's in there, you want to make sure that that first line of your description is also optimized so that one, your keyword phrase or keyword that you're trying to rank your video for is in there, but you also want to make it to where it's some type of persuasive language that would encourage somebody to where they see that your thumbnail grabs their attention, they look at your title, and then they go down to that little first line of your description and they see that, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is something that I want to click into. So then basically you're optimizing no matter where it is that they look, you're trying to use all of that stuff to persuade them to click into your actual video. And then of course, after your title is figured out, after you've got that first line of your description figured out, then of course, try to think of relevant tags for your videos as well. Of course, I think everybody in here is a TubeBuddy user, but of course, you want to make sure that you're using TubeBuddy for that. If you are not a TubeBuddy user, the way to do it manually is basically just go in and look at the search results of those tags and then just start looking at, the search results of the term that you're trying to rank for, and then start looking at the tags of all of them, and then basically copy and paste all of them into a notepad or something, and then just start hand picking the ones that are relevant to what it is that you are talking about and relevant to the specific video. Now, with that, just as a side tip, you want to make sure that the tags are relevant to what it is that you are trying to rank your video for. You're not just trying to throw a bunch of tags in there that are just sort of about the video. You want to make sure that they're all relevant to what it is that you're actually trying to rank the video for. So the tags aren't to describe the video, they're to help give a little bit more context. The least amount of weight goes to the tags, but they are basically used to give just a little bit more context to what's actually happening in the title. And then, of course, after you have your keyword research together, you've got your video ideas, and then the next thing that you want to do is you want to create a link plan. Now, when I say a link plan, one of the things that I mean in the link plan is basically you want to come up with ideas on how you're going to connect your content to other videos. So a really good idea, if you can work this into your workflow, is to basically start at the very top with that video ideas. Once you do that and you start getting into the research, once you start getting a handful of videos planned out, once you get past that keyword process and you start putting your link plan together, what you want to do is you want to say, okay, here's 5 different videos. How am I going to interlink these between each other? Or how am I going to link these to other relevant content that's on my channel, and go ahead and basically start charting out exactly which pieces of content you're going to link together so that you can encourage people to watch more of your content, and they're watching more of your content in a way that makes sense. And another thing as well, another thing that is really important to keep in mind when it comes to your link plan is it's also a really good idea if you have a money video. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you have one video that you make over the course of like a couple of weeks, and that one video is something that is generating more affiliate sales than the other videos that you've published recently, or that particular video is generating you more leads than you've published recently, or that video is just performing for you better in any way than any other video that you've published recently based on your personal goals. Then what you want to do is you want to make sure that as part of your link plan that you're actually funneling the traffic from the videos that you are making now to that particular money video, so that you can basically get more traffic to that money video, since it's a proven converter for you for whatever metric it is that you are keeping track of. Neil asks, talking of storage, do you have a backup hard drive, Nick? I'm a believer everyone should have a full copy of everything. I'm a freak. I have 2. I also have 2. As well. I want to get a RAID system, and we're going to talk about storage here in a minute, but I want to get a RAID system for in here. But right now I'll basically save everything to a external hard drive, and then I'll clone that external hard drive. But yeah, so with the link plan, just the idea is basically you want to be strategic about the content that you're referring people to based on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And this even comes down to, you know, hey, this particular video here is something that, you know, gets a really high view duration and YouTube is really promoting this video, or this video here is something that is proven to convert viewers to subscribers at a higher ratio for me. So therefore, I'm going to make sure that I send as many people as I can to that video. And all of that is going to be part of your link plan to actually funnel people around your YouTube channel to get them in front of the right content to help convert them into whatever it is that you want to convert them into. And then next up, of course, is your thumbnail ideas. So the thumbnail ideas is kind of like the keyword research, where a lot of people will do the thumbnail ideas after the video is done, right? So of course, making the thumbnail after the video is done makes sense, because, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But the thumbnail idea is basically to where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make this video. I've done the research on it. I know exactly how I'm going to link this video to other videos on my channel. So now what I need to do is I need to come up with some ideas of the type of the way that I'm actually going to represent this particular video, so that when I go out to shoot the content, I make sure that I get the photographs, or I make sure that I get the video shots that will actually allow me to make a really good thumbnail for my video, instead of me having to say, you know, like, oh no, I made the video and then now I don't have the shots that I need. So then now I'm just going to have to not make a good thumbnail that applies directly to the video, for example. Next up, of course, is making the video. So when you're making the video, then from that point, you know, of course, you want to make sure that you're remembering your thumbnail ideas. And if you have any questions about any of this, if you're just joining the stream, definitely, you know, feel free to stop me and ask questions at any time. And of course, you know, I'm going to do Q&A at the end of this as well, just on any general stuff that you have questions about. But when you're making the video, you also want to remember the thumbnail ideas, because of course it's always better to have a high resolution photo, just because they end up making better thumbnails. However, sometimes you'll have like additional things that you'll need to get that you can just pull out of the actual videos themselves. So, you know, make sure that when you're actually making the videos that you keep your thumbnail in mind, because, you know, again, it's really important to make sure that the thumbnail is very representative of what's going on in the video. So you might have certain elements. Maybe it happens to be like you holding a bag out or something, if you did something about being attacked by a bear at the grocery store, or, you know, maybe it's a bear, right? Maybe you couldn't get a high-res picture of a bear, but you got, you know, you had to make sure when you were recording that video, because the bear's chasing you through the grocery store, you had to make sure to turn around and get that first-person shot of that bear coming through so that you could make an awesome thumbnail. Or the people that are uploading that video on your behalf, you know, so that they could make that that awesome thumbnail for you of that POV of a bear getting you. Inside joke there from last week's live stream. And then from there, of course, organizing your files. So you've shot the footage and you get home, and then from there, you know, it comes time to organize the files. Now, one thing that I personally recommend, and again, this has worked well for me, and it's worked well for plenty of clients in the past, is to have a top-level folder. And that top-level folder is named whatever your video is named, so that you can easily find it later by looking at your title on YouTube and then going into your search inside of your computer and typing in that exact title, and then bam, that specific video is going to pop up for you. So it makes it really easy to find. And then inside of that top-level folder, from there, I recommend a graphics folder. And of course, you can do this in any way that you want. Again, this is just what works for me and for clients. Past clients, but basically like your top level folder with that has your channel or the video name. From there, graphics, a graphics folder, and then basically any graphics that you create for your videos, you can create subfolders inside of that graphics folder for each part of that. So for example, let's say you're doing text slides. Then in that particular situation, what you could do is you could have that particular folder to where it's basically just additional graphics that you use for your text slides, backgrounds, things like that. The next one on the list, video graphics as well, go in that folder, like your intro, you know, things like that. In screen, anything that you're always using in your video goes in that graphics folder. Audio is another folder. Inside of that folder, that's where you would put like sound effects. That's where you'd put any music tracks that you're going to use. Because remember, you're wanting to make containers for all of this. And you have any video tracks that you want to use, or that you're using. You have your raw audio, and then you also have your processed audio in the event that you are, with the type of content that you make, that you're putting that content, you're making it available as a podcast, or you're making it available as, you know, an MP3 download anywhere or whatever. But if you are doing that, then you would also dump that into your audio file as well in a subfolder there. And then another one for B-roll, and this just makes it easy, you know, when you're editing, and it makes it really easy to organize. And then, of course, a main videos folder, and that's just any of the videos that are relevant to the video, like anything that you've shot. Now, with this one, the reason I have the little X with the dots after it is that's basically inside of that main videos folder. Let's say that you have a 4-camera video going on, and you know, you have like 4 different scenes, and you got to put that footage somewhere so that you can easily find it when you're putting the video together. So inside of your main folder, then you would also, your main videos folder, then you would also have a, you know, additional folders, X amount of folders in there based on how many additional cameras that you are running. Or if you're just on 2, then it would basically be a folder for each camera so that you can easily find that as well. And so your software, when in the event that you end up having to pull this up at a later date to make a change to it to upload to another platform, then what you can do there is everything's going to be, you know, connected within that. So you don't have to go and scour around trying to find things, because you can just tell your software, hey, everything is in this folder, and then it'll go through and then just pull everything from that folder. And then, of course, a thumbnail folder. Inside of that thumbnail folder, I would definitely make sure. Hey, Alex, what's up, man? I would, Joe saying he's not so organized. Yeah, it can be really beneficial, man, because like once, you know, everything just starts cranking away, like, especially if you know, go full time in this stuff, like organization comes down. It's really, really convenient, because you don't know when you're going to have to reference old stuff and bring it back for any reason, even if it's a clip. Another convenient thing about doing it this way is, let's say that you have a video now that you're making, and you're like, hey, I want to reference a clip from this video that I made 9 months ago. And then you're like, okay, what video was that? And then you go and you confirm it on YouTube, and then you go to your computer, you type in that particular video, bam, you've got your final video file that you can just drop it in. If you wanted to make an edit to it that would match specifically the video that you're talking about currently, everything, it's in its own container, so you have everything it is that you need right there within that folder structure. And then, of course, either the project file, depending on the software that you're using, either the project file itself, like in my case, that would be like a, you know, video name.veg file for Vegas. But if you're like a Premiere user, then in that case, you know, they organize that stuff into folders for you anyway. So then your actual video files would be recorded into there. Beanie, I personally don't rename my clips, but if I was making vlog content, I would definitely rename my clips so that I could, you know, make sure that I'm highlighting specific things. But what I do for the specific type of content that I make, and for a lot of types of content, is basically like, once it's inside of the main videos folder, then let's say, for example, you were making food content. Then what you would do is you would have, like, you know, in your main videos folder, you would have the one folder that's like all the shots of you. And then you would have the other folder that would be, you know, hey, camera 2 that was on the oven, camera 3 that was on the microwave type of thing. And then you can go in there and you can, you know, pull them in that way without having to specifically name them. But absolutely, you can name them for making it easy for you to find them later, because if you don't name them and you do have to go back and find a specific clip later, then it can be difficult that way as well. So I'll actually add that to here just for the sake of clarification in the future. So in addition to that, once you get the once you basically have this structure put together for your actual storage, then of course, next thing you want to do once you get all the files organized is, from there you want to make sure that you you know, edit the video. So we are all, because we're all artists when it comes to this stuff, so we are all different in how we edit videos. But if you are looking for a direction, I'll go through this one really quick on something that that seems to work well for a lot of people, and that is basically you do a first pass edit. The first pass edit is where you basically have in your main files, you get all that stuff that we just organized, you basically bring it all in, you put it, you know, where it needs to be as your main track. So as an example, if you were doing the food content that I was talking about a second ago, then what you would do is you would have like your main talking track if you're on camera, and like you would put all of that together. And then after that, you would go through the second pass to where you would go through and you would have your B-roll folder open or the additional camera shot open. For example, if you did like oven shot, and then that one you would go through, and as you're talking about the specific things, you would start pulling those into your timeline. So that, it would be relevant to what it was that you were talking about at the time. And same exact thing for B-roll, where you would open up that B-roll folder after that, and then you would go through and you would start pulling in the B-roll or graphics or whatever it happens to be to kind of, polish the thing up a bit. But that first pass edit, you can cruise through that. That goes relatively quick. The time starts happening, like, and you all know this, like the time comes from that second pass. Like that second pass can take a while. The first pass, you can typically put that together relatively quick, but the second pass definitely can take a while. Now, I do want to put a disclaimer and say that if you're doing vlog content or anything where you are going to do like creative sequences, that kind of breaks the first and second pass thing, because what's going to happen there is you're going to have like we're just going to use food. So let's say you're making a food video and you're like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven. And then you do this like cinematic sequence to where, you're getting everything ready and you're putting everything in the oven and it's sliding in there and you're turning the knobs and getting it all ready and you got some cool music or whatever. Then in a situation like that, you're going to have to combine your first and second pass and work on it on your way through so that you can, build those sequences in as well. So just keep that in mind if you don't know that already. And then of course, after that, you want to make sure that you color it. It's like a lot of people. Yeah, I'm good at that, Neil. So a lot of people, they get really overwhelmed by, color grading and all of that stuff, because it is extremely technical if you get into like actual legit color grading. But when I look at a lot of videos on YouTube, just a tiny bit of contrast or just a tiny bit of additional saturation or just a tiny bit of extra sharpness can really make a big difference in how your video actually looks. Like even what you're seeing right now, like me, the webcam portion of me, even on this, I've got it sharpened. I've got a little bit of saturation added to it. I've got a little bit of color added to it, because it just gives it more richness and it makes it, seem like a better webcam than it actually is. But that same exact thing happens in all the videos that get published, by me as well, because, I want to just give it that extra kick. But, we go farther in mine in terms of adding like a full blown, additional like filter to it called Magic Bullet looks and things like that. But at the very base, adding just a little bit of contrast, a little bit of saturation, a little bit of sharpness, and making sure that you're white balanced can make a really big difference in how your end product looks. Learn English with Bob. What's up, man? Nice to see you here. So, and then from there, once you get your color and that, fine tuning done in terms of like how it actually looks, then of course from there you want to process your audio. Depending on what you use, if you are not familiar with audio processing, and I'm covering some of this stuff. I know some of you are familiar with it, but I'm covering some of these things in a little bit more detail just in case somebody ends up watching this on the replay that isn't. But if you're not familiar with audio processing, you can process your audio using a free tool called Audacity. And with that, what it does is you can actually take out some of the the noise that you hear. And I don't mean background noise. I mean that sound that you get from the preamps and some of the cameras and all that. You can get rid of that, or at least minimize it when you post process. You can also normalize it, which basically means that you are making the volume throughout the whole thing sound about the same level. You can add dynamics processing to it, which basically kind of pumps the whole thing up, and then you can normalize it again and add an equalizer to it. But like processing audio, and I might have, I'll see if Mike Russell would actually help me on a video here for like really good video processing maybe for you guys. But basically, like the idea is camera right out of the audio, or audio right out of the camera. Not that fantastic. If you process it, it can make a really, really big difference in how people perceive your video. So as a quick tip, because I mentioned color balance or white balance, and I also mentioned processing your audio. So one thing that I recommend, just in case you don't know this already, and I need to grab something, so hold on. So one thing that I recommend is if you want to make sure that your white balance is dialed in and all of that, I would recommend getting one of these. And let me switch this really quick. but I would recommend getting one of these. And what this is a white balance card. And basically what I do before all of my videos is I hold this up and I don't say a word. And I do that for 5 to 10 seconds. I just go like this. And what that does is in post-processing, that gives the opportunity to actually make the audio sound better. And it also gives me the opportunity to, hold on. It also gives me the opportunity to make sure that my my white balance. So basically I do that for my white balance and for my audio, just to make sure that the color can be dialed in and to make sure that the audio can be dialed in as well. Because what happens is when you give yourself like a 5 to 10 second silence is when you use something like Adobe Audition or you use the free version, which is Audacity, then what happens is you can actually sample that silence, and what you're doing is you're sampling what that what the room sounds like, and you're also sampling the noise coming from the preamps, so that when you do the post-processing later, then you can basically use that as your sample, and then you can apply the changes to the rest of the track, which is really cool. And then, of course, while you're editing the video, you want to make sure that you're grabbing any, screenshots for any additional things that you need to add to your thumb. And again, high resolution pictures are the win, but if you have any additional things that you want to make a part of your thumbnail, making sure to grab screenshots for those is important. And then, of course, you want to export and render. Now, there's a common myth around YouTube that says that if you export your video file with the actual title of your video or with the keywords in it that you're trying to rank for, that it'll help. It absolutely does not. Just as a heads up, YouTube actually, once they process that, they remove all of that stuff anyway. If you actually look in the code of YouTube, you'll be able to see that they remove all of that stuff, and it makes no difference whatsoever how you name the file, just as a heads up. So you want to name that for organizational purposes and to match your title so that you can easily find it, later. Next up on the list, of course, is to create your actual thumbnail. Now, for this, if you are looking for solutions to add your thumbnail or to make a thumbnail, of course, you can use Photoshop, which I recommend. You can use Photopea, and that's P-E-A. You can also use Canva.com that has built-in templates. If you're doing it on a phone, you can use Snapseed, as well as Canva on your phone as well. What's it called? Pixel Lab, I think, is another one if you're on a phone. But basically, your thumbnail, you can create that while you are rendering or uploading with the stuff that you used. Hey, what's up, Dan? Nice to see you in here. With the stuff. Hey, what's up, Brian? With the but basically, you create your thumbnail with the stuff that you got earlier, with the pictures that you got earlier while you were shooting, and with the screenshots that you grabbed in the editing process. And then here's where it's going to start getting good. So basically, from there, you want to upload the video, of course. There you would add your title from the research. So this is the part where when you plan this stuff ahead of time and you do it in this order, then you've already got this stuff together and it makes the uploading process a breeze. But basically, you add the title from the research from before, you add the description and tags from the stuff before, upload your thumbnail, add cards, add your end screen, and then you publish. And you guys are all familiar with that process. But then there's the post-publish. So I recommend, these are the things that I recommend that you do. And there's actually one that I'm going to add to this as well. But with the post-publish, of course, you want to make sure that you go in, you add a pinned comment. And you can screenshot this too if you want, just for the sake of having it yourself. Or I can make this, available, maybe, the slides. If you want those, if you want the slides, just let me know and I'll make it available. But basically, you want to add a pinned comment. You want to tweet your video, and when you tweet your video, you want to tweet it with your thumbnail, not just an embed. So you don't want to just tweet your link, and you definitely do not want to use the auto tweet option inside of Twitter. When you tweet your video out, you want to make sure that you are uploading your own thumbnail to Twitter, and that it can be your video thumbnail, or it can be something related to the video. If there's like a particular part of the video where people are like, hey, this is awesome, then, or where you think that was awesome, then you can, make a little social clip, which is actually what Dan Norton does here. Actually, as part of his services is he, helps people repurpose stuff like that. But basically what you can do is you can take a clip out of your video. You can take just the thumbnail if you want. You can take a screenshot of it. You can make a totally different picture as well. And what you do is you share that, and then you put the link where you tell people to actually go and check the video. And The reason for that is you don't want to put just that raw link because you want to actually get them onto YouTube. You don't want them to watch that on Twitter. You don't want them to watch that anywhere. You want them to leave whatever platform it is that they're on and actually watch that video on YouTube. You want to start the session so that hopefully once they're there, they'll watch more of your content or they'll get lost in YouTube, which is plus points for you as the person that brought them into YouTube in the first place. So that's definitely something that you want to do. So Doug is saying here that he automates the sharing using if this then that to Twitter, Facebook, etc. So when they share through if this then that, are they sharing the full size image with just a link, or are they sharing the embed to where they share the link and then somebody could actually watch it on the platform? Because what you want is you want to basically do this manually so that you can, you know, entice people based on whichever platform that you're on to try to pull over. And then from there, of course, if you have relevant groups that that make sense to share your content in on Facebook, then of course you would want to do that. And by relevant, I mean not share for share groups, not YouTube groups, not groups about YouTube, not groups where they're talking about YouTube. What I'm talking about is if you make videos about cooking, or like Midnight Madness 4x4, you make videos about monster trucks or 4x4ing, then in that case, you would want to find specific groups about cooking, and you'd want to find specific groups about 4x4s and enthusiasts for 4x4s, and you would want to share there once you are a part of those communities. And then, of course, on your own, share it on your own Facebook profile if and only if some of your Facebook friends are actually people that watch your videos. If the people that are you're friends with on Facebook are not watching your videos, then there's no reason to share it there, because they're not going to watch it anyway. And if they do, they're most likely going to come in and then they're going to end up leaving the video. So unless they are people that are, you know, a good fit for your content, unless your friends are into the stuff you make, then I wouldn't share it on Facebook. But if they are, then in that case, I would definitely share it there. Of course, pinning it on Pinterest, writing a blog post. And all of this is extra work, of course. However, if you are wanting to get that ball rolling, you're wanting to get the momentum going, and you want to create the opportunities for yourself to get traffic from all of these different places, this is really important, what I'm saying right now. Write a blog post. So you can do that inside of medium.com. You can also, which has built-in traffic and also has, a stronger search presence. Or you can actually create an additional asset for yourself over time by writing blog posts on your own blog, to where it's basically, you know, your name or your channel name.com. Or you can just create a totally different brand and use your channel to send traffic to it or whatever. But basically, you want to write a blog post and embed your video in there so that you can also take advantage of that. So one of the things that I did is when I was first trying to get the ball rolling on my YouTube channel, I don't do it anymore, but I should. I just don't have the time. But what I used to do is basically I would as soon as I published a video, I would actually share it out. And then I would go to blogger.com, because keep in mind, this was, 5 years ago, but I would go to blogger.com, and then I would go and I would hammer out a post right there while those initial views were coming in right after I published. And my goal, and I recommend that you try to do the same, is using your post-publish strategy, whatever it happens to be for you, because these are just some ideas and things that I recommend. But for your post-publish, one thing that I recommend is, if you have like a certain view count that you normally get, think to yourself, okay, how can I get at least this many views in the first hour? Where do I gotta show this? What type of communities do I need to, interact in that are based around my content, so that I can basically, every time I publish a video, that's an opportunity for me to basically interact more in these platforms, or more in these specific groups and these other platforms, to try to bring more people into YouTube. Same thing with the blog posts. Same exact thing, like the Facebook groups, is sharing it out on Reddit, as long as you have a subreddit that makes sense for your content, and that it adds value to that particular subreddit, because if it doesn't add value, they'll eat you alive over on Reddit. In addition to that, also sharing on our videos can also be very beneficial. If you're making content like I make, it doesn't help. It's actually kind of counterproductive. But if you are making content that is like viral in nature, or you're talking about trending topics or something like that, sharing on our videos, which is a subreddit on Reddit, youtube.com. Sharing on our videos can actually end up sending a lot of traffic as long as you're making good content, as long as the title there is something. And you got to keep this in mind, just like YouTube, as long as the title there is something to where people are like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me check that out. And then, of course, reaching out to other bloggers. And when it comes to reaching out to other bloggers, you know, if you make this part of your workflow, I guarantee you 1,000% over time it's going to work. If you make reaching out to bloggers part of your workflow when you're publishing new content, then over time you're going to end up finding bloggers, and it might take you 100 attempts, but you're going to end up finding bloggers that will say, hey, yeah, if you upload something that's relevant to what it is that we're doing, we'll post it, or we'll let you write an article about it, and then you can actually, write the article and submit it to us, and then we can put it up on our website. So that's another thing that I recommend that you do that's extremely effective. Jay Littman saying also sharing it with your email list if you have one. I know a few people have done that, and it really helps with the initial view velocity. Absolutely. Sharing it with your email list is also a very good thing to do. That one's just a tad bit more on the advanced side, just because that is something that is, you got to have an email list in order to do that. But absolutely, if you have an email list, you without question want to add that to your post publish as well. Yeah, like right here, AliX is saying that I used to share in groups and would get extra thousands of views, but I decided to stop. Not worthy of the negativity come from some jealous group members. Yeah, that all comes down to personal preference. Like at the end of the day, for me, like, if I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, I don't care about, jealous group members. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Say whatever you want. This is still effective and I'm still going to do it. But that's just my angle. Because I have a personal thing about, not letting other people kind of stand in the way of, me trying to do what it is I want to do. So, if you're missing out on thousands of views and you don't want to just deal with the people, totally cool. But I personally wouldn't let them stand in the way of you getting that additional, in your case, like thousands of views over the course of a nice handful of videos, because you publish on a decent basis or on a regular basis. They're also costing you money as well. And then, of course, an 8 to 30 day post optimization. And I need to optimize the title of this so it shows up better in the slide. It looked better in PowerPoint. So basically, on your 8 to 30 day post optimization, you want to make sure that you are, and this is part of the workflow, right? Because a lot of people will publish a video and then they'll forget about it. But you want to go in 8 to 30 days later, and you want to add cards at drop-off points in your audience retention. What that means is basically you want to go into your audience retention reports for a specific video, the video that we're talking about, and you want to go in and you want to see if there was any big drop-offs. If there was, then grab their attention right before they leave by putting a card right before that drop-off point, so you can try to get them off to another video. So basically, you would just go through that video and you'd look for those, and then you would do that. You would also add any additional tags. If you're a TubeBuddy user, they'll actually let you know, hey, people are finding you using these things, and then you can actually add those to your tags as well, just to make the video just a little bit more strong. And then, of course, I definitely recommend that you run at least one A/B test on your thumbnail just to see if a text change, if you use text-based stuff like I do, or if it's an image change, if you're using more image-focused thumbnails, then, run at least one A/B test just to see if you can get, an increase on it, one or two, but at least run one just to see if you can make a difference, because a thumbnail tweak that can get a higher click-through rate can really help a video. So it's really important to make sure that you just build that into your workflow. And then, of course, if your channel is big enough that you have a community feed, making sure that you also share older content in your community feed from time to time is also a really good idea, because with that, basically, like, some people are weird about sharing in the community feed because they think, well, people have already seen this video. But in reality, they haven't. So, like, if you're growing your channel at a decent rate, let's say that you have 10,000 subscribers, but a particular video has 5,000 views, or even 10,000 views, or 30,000 views. But if you look in your demographics, then you see that, let's say 30% or 40% of your subscribers are watching your videos, then in that case, it's like, okay, well, that means that, a lot of my subscribers didn't even see this. So I'm going to post it in my community tab so that I can get it in front of the new people that are coming in. So doing that can definitely add to your watch time, your view counts, and all that good stuff as well. So making sure that you share in your community feed on a regular basis is important. Sharing to playlists in your community feed is also great because it'll start a binge session, especially if you're very topical. Like for example, Alex, like if he had like a full breakdown through a handful of videos on a specific thing about fishing, then he could, you know, share that playlist in his community feed. Like, hey, here's, you know, my three to five videos. They're relatively short that I put together to basically walk you through the entire process of, you know, fishing, you know, whatever. I don't know a lot about fishing, so I ran out of steam there. But basically, you know, you would basically put those videos together and then you would basically post it there so that the people that are interested in that can go through and they could watch that quick series. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you add that video to your link plan options. You can actually do this towards the front, or you can also just do it at the end, you know, like in 8 to 30 days after it's been published, to just go in and say, okay, you know, this is my list of videos, and these are videos that I typically link together, and I need to, you know, find like a nice solid spot to where if I make a video on this particular topic, this one is a candidate for me to actually link to with the future content. And then from there, of course, repeat over and over and over and over again. There's my notes. You can see there. See what I mean about the Google Doc? So, on all of that, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, so Pink Paper Peppermint says, I need help with ranking. I do tons of research, TubeBuddy and Morning Fame, and rank it first, and then the videos just drop into oblivion. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong, but I'm not sure what. So, hey, Crystal Vanner, what's up? So, Crystal Vanner, sorry. Pink Paper Peppermint. So if your videos rank at first and then they drop, probably what's happening is your click-through rate on your thumbnail is relatively low, or your retention is relatively low on the videos, and that causes them to drop. Because basically, like if you optimize a video and that particular video, and I'm pulling up your channel now, if you optimize a video and that particular video does well initially, but then it drops out, then that just means that people aren't responding to it enough for YouTube to want to keep pushing it out in front of people. So what you got to do in that particular situation is you want to really dig in, and you want to say, okay, like what kind of click-through am I getting on my thumbnails? How are people actually responding to the video once they get there? Are they engaging in the videos at all? Like you're getting views on your videos, you know, you're getting, you know, like 1,100 views, 1,100 views, 1,100 views, 1,200 views. So, you know, people are definitely watching them, but they might not be watching them for long enough. So like here, for example, like you have an 11-minute and 38-second video from the one that you did 2 weeks ago. And like in that one, what I would do is I would go into your audience retention report and I would just start looking, right, second by second, how are people responding to this particular video, so that you can make that call. You know, let me see if I can pull something up here, because I can't change accounts, but one thing that I can do, and I think I've done this before, but I'm going to show it to you really quick, just to show you. Actually, 45 retention isn't bad. So I'm not sure what kind of retention the people that you are up against, your competition, I'm not sure what they're getting. But I would definitely, if you're not already, I would definitely A/B test your thumbnails. And the reason for that is because like 4 to 6 actually isn't bad. That's, you know, that's within the average range. And on 1,000 views, that's still, you know, that's still not that bad. But in comparison to like who you're actually going up against, you know, that might be where you're taking that hit. A/B testing, you can do it manually. 2 ways you can do it. One, you can do it through TubeBuddy if you're a Legend account user, but if you're not, then you can do it the hard way, which is basically you go into a spreadsheet and you say, okay, from this date to this date, this is the thumbnail that I have on this video. These are the results that I'm getting from it. This is the click-through rate on it. And you'd want to start this after the video settles, not right away. Give yourself like, you know, 7 to 14 days before you do this. But basically you want to say, okay, this is my click-through rate currently. This is the activity that's happening on my video right now. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to switch it, and then you would mark down that date range, which would be the same date range of the previous, and you would mark that down, and then you would basically just look for any changes in activity or in the click-through rate of the thumbnail. And then, of course, you would go back to the original again just for the confirmation, and then you would basically have those two that are against each other, and then you would just pick the winner based on whichever one got the highest click-through rate. Now, like I said before, TubeBuddy can do that, to where you just load it up into TubeBuddy, and then it does it all automatically, so you don't even have to like worry about it. But yeah, so basically what you want to do, and I'm going to show you here really quick. Well, actually, you said you're getting like 45%. So one thing that I would do is I would definitely try to work on like the first, like if you're getting 45% now, I'm not sure what it looks like when the video first opens. But I would try to kind of fatten up that front end a little bit. Because if people are leaving there a lot, and they may or may not be, because I don't have access to your stats, but if they're leaving, like when the video first opens, if they're leaving there a lot, then, you know, that's affecting the rest of the video. So I would work really hard on that first like 15 to 20 seconds of your video, because if you can hold them there, oh, it's a hockey stick. Okay. Yeah. So if you, hey, what's up, Christina? So if it's a hockey stick, then what you need to do is you need to think, okay, what can I do to grab their attention right when the video starts? And here's some things that I would experiment with. Since it looks like you are doing, hey, Desiree, since it looks like you are doing like crafting type stuff, like journaling, maybe you're putting journals together, it looks like here. So, you know, I would experiment with talking when the first video or when the video first opens up, see how that works. I would experiment with actually showing the stuff when the video first starts opening up, to where maybe you have like a little music sequence, and then you just kind of show like the end result. Hey, this is what we're going to be making. And then I would try it with voice with the music. Basically, I would try it with the actual, showing them the actual stuff itself with and without music. And then I would also try it to where you put together like a little speed thing, to where it's just like a quick, like 5-second, you know, we're doing this, and this in this video essentially. And then actually get into the video content itself. But basically, like, you need to work on that beginning area and try to think, okay, because I'm not in your space, so I don't know without looking at your stats. I don't know, you know, like I'd have to really dig into your stats to try to, you know, uncover what they are, you know, like how they're responding to your stuff. But what you want to think about, because you're making the content, which means that you're obviously into what it is that you're doing, is think about, okay, for me, when a video first opens up, what always grabs my attention, right? When I'm watching YouTube videos, what's something that always grabs my attention? And start going from there, and basically just start experimenting like crazy. And then once you find something that lowers that hockey stick, then make a few more like that, just to confirm that it wasn't just a one-off thing based on the topic. And then, you know, start running some more experiments. That's the fun part of being a content creator is this stuff. I mean, to me, it's fun. Is this stuff, like trying to figure it out, because it's funny. Like, you know, just like everybody else, you know, I'll have some videos to where I'll get like a really high audience retention, and then I'll have other videos not so much, to where I'll have to go in and I'll be like, man, why do they leave in this particular one? You know, did I show them exactly what it is that they wanted to learn, and then after that they were gone? If so, then I need to make sure that right after I finish showing them what they need to show or what they need to see, then I got to, you know, drop my end screen and that video is done, right? So it's like going through and just trying to figure out that stuff, and how, because what you're doing is, like, through making videos, you're basically experimenting with like how to grab a human mind. You know what I mean? Like how do you stop a human mind in its tracks and keep it watching for as long as possible? So yeah, but I would definitely start running those experiments on your stuff right now. I wouldn't burn the captions in on YouTube. So you can experiment with it, Christina. But I personally wouldn't, just because I'm annoyed by burned in captions personally. It might increase the retention, because I know captions in general can increase the retention. So you might want to give it a shot based on your audience. But that's something that I personally would never do, just because I personally don't like that. I like captions to where I can turn them on and off, but I'm not a fan of burned in stuff at all. Like, I'll leave videos because of it, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. I would definitely try it, because your audience might be like, oh God, this is great, right? Because it gives them something to read, but definitely something to experiment with. Let's see here. Okay, so in order to change your URL, you do not need a brand account. Basically, what you need to do is you need to go into your channel settings, and inside of your channel settings, you're going to see an option. Here, let me show you here really quick. And I'm going to do this in Classic. And then I'll pull it over here so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing here. So what you want to do for your custom URL, and let me get that screen up. So what you want to do is basically you want to just go into the classic, and then basically if you're in beta, basically you would go all the way down to the bottom of that beta, and then you'll see the option to come over here to classic. And then on this page, you'll see here to where it'll say custom URL, and then you'll have instructions. So that's under channel and then status and features. And then underneath that, you'll have this area here. And if you haven't claimed it yet, then you'll have instructions. You'll have instructions right there. Yeah, do it in classic while you still can. Absolutely. Let's see here. I'd love to get your feedback on my intros and videos if you got time. Okay, so we've got that. You guys working that out. As a crafter and graphic video watcher, prolonged explaining, repeatedly explaining something. Yeah, prolonged explaining. Yeah, so a lot of people are like that. So, you know, Crystal is saying that as a crafter and crafting video watcher, I hate prolonged explaining and repeatedly explaining something. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, people appreciate it when you respect their time as well. So dragging stuff out for the sake of dragging stuff out is definitely, you know, not that awesome. And people will love it if you just give them what it is that they came for. And if you do like any of the calls to action in the intro, which you definitely should experiment with because in most cases it works. But if you do that, try to get through it as fast as humanly possible so you can get to the content as fast as possible. Let's see here. Desiree is saying that she's pivoting her channel in August from talking to born businesses to marketers, and rather than vaguely talk about social media, I'll share content marketing strategy. Any tips for launching this pivot? Just make it. There's no need to actually like launch it. Like I would just start doing it now. Like if you're making content that isn't within what you're going to do, like I would just scrap that content and just start making the new stuff so that you can just go ahead and start going into that. So the only thing that I would do in terms of the change is if there is anything that you say, Desiree, at the beginning of your video to where like your video opens up and you explain what it is that you actually offer, then in that particular case, then just be specific in how you actually explain what it is that you're doing, and it'll take care of itself, because the people that aren't into that, that don't fit that profile will be like, oh, wait a minute, what did she do? What did she change? This isn't me. And then they'll end up leaving, or they'll leave some comments like, hey, did you make some change or whatever? And then you can let them know in the comments, whatever. But I wouldn't even waste a video explaining, hey, you know, I'm going to be changing this on my channel and, you know, all that stuff. Just go for it. Make the change, because like as soon as you make that change, then you can just answer a few comments for the people that are curious about it. And then everybody else is just going to, you know, will either just be a part of that pivot, or they'll just slowly drop out as they find out that they're not interested in the new content that you're uploading. Let's see here. I'm thinking of changing my Patreon call to action to the beginning instead of the end. What do you think? In terms of a call to action for Patreon, if you do it at the beginning, then you are, you know, putting it in front of more people. However, if you put it at the end, you're probably putting it in front of the people that are more likely to subscribe to your Patreon. And the reason I'm saying that is because if they've watched a full video, then that means they're into what it is that you're doing. So they would most likely be more likely to subscribe. However, experiment with it. Give it a shot. Don't do it the second your video opens. Give them a little bit of content first, and then be like, oh, by the way, you can help support me on this journey, or I have more content that I give people over in Patreon, so I've got a link to that down in the description so you can check it out for details or something like that to do that. Yeah, I'm there with you, Doug. Channel update videos, not a fan. Not a fan in any way, shape, or form of channel update videos. It's like, why didn't you just give me content? I wanted content. Desiree saying, I'm about to move, so I've batched my content to July to plan ahead. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. No worries. I was just going to say, like, if you are going to do it, then you might as well just do it. But if you've already got the content batch, then yeah, I feel you. If you're going to do a manual A/B test, I'm not sure when you changed the thumbnails. Like, I'm not sure how long the videos have been online, but basically what you want to do is if you are going to do, if you're going to do an A/B test, you want to make sure that the video has settled. And what I mean by that is when you go into the stats, you see that it's getting consistent traffic to it. If the channel's like getting a spike, or the video's getting a spike, then just leave it alone and wait until it kind of, settles. If it's tanking, then in that particular case, same thing. Wait until it kind of settles a little bit, and then go in and start experimenting with it. But at the very least, wait through that first week. And wait through that first week so that the video can have time to settle, because during that first week, YouTube is basically taking your content and it's putting it in front of all these different people, connecting it to all these different videos. And based on how that video performs, it's going to stay there or it's not. But by the end of like 7 to 8 days, then the system has a good understanding of how it's, like where your video is going to go. So because of that, you can move forward from there on doing your A/B testing. No problem. Yeah, we got another one in there for channel update videos suck. Absolutely. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, basically this will be available for the replay, and the front part was basically a rough presentation on doing the YouTube workflow in terms of just, video ideas through keyword research, through editing the videos, how to organize your files and things like that in case you're looking for guidance on that sort of thing. So that's what's the front end of this was, if you happen to just be coming in now. Yeah, do a channel update in the community tab, make it unlisted. Your true fans follow your community tab. Absolutely. My basic speech is, I hope you enjoyed today's daily dose. If you consider supporting them, if you are, consider them supporting $1 a month. And for just a little bit more, you can gain access to the podcast. Yeah, that's good. I would definitely condense that, though, on the very beginning, because if they are like just getting into your daily dose, they haven't actually had a taste of it yet. So I would definitely work that in, kind of like give them a little bit of content first and then drop that on them. If you're going to do it at the beginning, then in that case, you might want to just have a little graphic that pops up that says, Patreon link in the description, or, help me make these awesome videos for you by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description, something like that, just to where you're spreading their idea. Let's see here. Will there be a replay? Yeah, there'll be a replay. Absolutely. Without question. Yeah, do a channel update in the community tab and make it unlisted. Your true fans follow your community tab. Yeah. And with that also, by unlisted, basically what she means with that, I think this is what you mean, Christina, is basically you have an option inside of your, like when you upload a video, you have an option to, one, unlist it, to where you can just add it to a playlist that you would add there, or just post it there. Or two, you can also just check a little box to where you don't notify your subscribers when you publish that video. You can do that as well. And you do that in your video settings. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming in. I hope that you got some value out of this. Again, this will be available on the replay in the community feed. This will be available for the replay for anybody that's coming in here from Facebook as well. So thanks for hanging out. Thank you for your support as a channel member. I appreciate it. And I will see you soon. And the next stream that we do, I'm going to try to do it in the evening for over there, and which will be, relatively somewhere in the morning here. So, of course, as we get close to that, then I will, I'll post that information. I'll let you know in the live streams, and I'll let you know on Facebook and in the community feed and all that stuff as well. So I hope everybody has an awesome rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.